Welcome to Small Biz Life, Episode 8. Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hello, and welcome to Small Biz Life. I am Kristen Ingram, and contrary to popular belief, if you've listened before, I actually have a bottle of water with me this morning, and I had breakfast.
Yes, largely because I'm home, and she's afraid if she does not make me food, that I will wither and die because I'm so skinny.
And who are you?
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram, today's fabulous co-host, and I'm here with today's producer, Smoochy Pants, who is asleep on the chair next to me.
Oh, very good. It's always good to have an executive producer.
Yes.
So this is episode 8. And before we get to the main topic, we are going to talk about what is in the news. And this week, we actually found 2 articles that are sort of related. And so we're going to talk about them together. But we're going to link both of them in the show notes at smallbizlife.com.
Yeah. And the first one was actually, we're looking at information on something we had saw on Shark Tank, a company called Lollyware. And Lollyware is a fascinating use of technology, showing how technology can solve problems, how capitalism at its core can find solutions that you might not ever even think about until you see one. And this company creates edible glasses to replace disposable glasses, which I thought was a very fascinating concept.
And this is cups, not like eyeglasses.
Yes, very good point.
Drinking cups.
Drinking cups. So instead of the plastic little red cups that you're used to seeing when you go to buffets for your company or something like that, where they're not using real permanent glassware, a lot of times you'll get disposable ones. And in this circumstance, you may eat your cup when it's done. And if you decide not to eat it, it is completely biodegradable because it is meant to be eaten.
Hey, that's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's a very cool concept. And it's one of those where I saw it, I'm like, that's brilliant, because how many disposable cups do people go through for these kind of events? And I think one, early on, it makes for a talking point at events that you might go to that have disposable cups. And it's just a really fascinating way to deal with some of the problems that we have as a culture with waste. What we put into the landfills, which to me is a bad thing. Landfills are bad, but I see why we need them. But the more things that we can make that we don't need to put in them, the better.
No, I agree. And my article is actually about a company that will make school lunches for your kids. And your kids can actually pick them up at school. It's a CNN Money article that's called No Time to Pack Lunches, Outsource It. It's about a Boston-based startup that saw a need, especially for kids who have food restrictions or allergies. So they started a company called Smart Lunches, where parents can buy lunches for their kids. And when their kids get to school, they're there and they're ready to go.
That's awesome. So I have to ask, do they put Lollyware cups in them? What is the connection you're going for here, my love?
In order for your business to grow, you need to figure out what your avatar's pain point is. What is something that is bothering them, right? That is causing them frustration or pain that your product will solve or your service will solve.
So I would imagine in the case of Lollyware, it would be helping to reduce the waste that goes into the landfills, because a lot of people like to live in a cleaner place. And
I think for Lollyware, there's a huge segment of the population that's considered non-consumerist. There was actually a discussion in a group that I'm in where there were a lot of frustrated parents because schools were telling them, okay, your kid's going to go on a field trip, and the lunch that you pack can't have anything. Everything has to be disposable. And these parents are really frustrated because they don't like disposable.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out solutions for beverages. And I really hope, if anybody knows, if you know anybody at Lollyware, you need to make lids. Because if you made lids and kids could put them in their, in their lunch bags, you guys could make a fortune.
Yeah.
Make lids.
I think my only question with Lollyware is, depending on what you put in there, does it change the length of time that couple survive with liquid in it? And that would be my one concern. But I think it's one of those things that, it's a very novel approach, and, it will flesh out and improve over time, hopefully. And we can see where it goes there. So, and I think what was the other company's name? The one that you were looking at?
It's called Smart Lunches.
Smart Lunches. And I would imagine the pain point there being, it's a time thing, and, knowing a lot of very busy mothers, especially, and sometimes fathers, if you're actually making the lunch for your kids, you're either trying to turn it into an activity with them, which makes it take longer, or, you could better use that time to sit down with them, go over their homework, or have some fun family time.
But, it's interesting because, they're saying their meals cost $6 to $7 each. So it's not cheap. But, when you've got kids that have food restrictions, allergies, they don't like the food, the parents don't like the food at the school, and one of the cool things with the company is it's free for schools to participate, and 1% to 2% of each sale goes back to the school. So it actually helps fund the school too, which from being on the Board of Ed in my town, I know that the food services have to be self-sufficient and the school doesn't get anything back from those. But they have 200 school partners in Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. Yeah. So, and they're getting 1 to 5 new requests each week. Well, so it's definitely a pain point.
Yeah. And I really don't know if the cost is that prohibitive. I don't know what a school lunch would cost today or whatever. But, that's probably less than the average that you would spend on your kid if you took them to fast food, depending on if they were very frugal on the menu, but that might not be true. But, in general, if they're ordering, one of those combo meals, $6, $7 is cheaper than most combo meals at most fast food, at least around, in Connecticut.
Yeah. And they're saying they do things like chicken pot pie and wraps and salads. So, it's kind of it's a healthier alternative to what most what you get in most school lunches. So, but again, it's a convenience thing. Yeah. I don't want to pack my lunch for my kids, so I'm willing to spend, $6. Yeah. So, that's, the reason I bring these up again is because we want you to look at your products or services and figure out what pain point you are solving for your avatar. And if you can't think of a pain point, then maybe you need to retool what you're doing.
Yeah. So whether it's for your business, making sure that you have a way to help increase the pain for your customers, I think that's what Kristen's saying.
No.
Yes, you're trying to solve a problem for them.
I'm trying to decrease their pain.
Yes, okay. So you're going to try to either decrease the pain of your customers or look for those things that you need help with to recover the time so you don't feel so strangled between your time from your business and your family.
Think about those pain points. And the other thing too is that you can even work this into your sales message if you're not already. Think about the pain point that your product is solving. Yeah. And then work that into your sales message, and it'll probably help you increase your sales.
And I think the other interesting takeaway too is if you're looking to start a small business and you're one of the many people who I think struggle with what should I do, look to the struggles in your life. What are some of the pain issues in your life that you could help alleviate by doing something novel? And take that approach to finding the product or service that you're planning to deliver and start your business from that point.
In episode 7, we talked about creating goals. So today I wanted to talk about, are your goals achievable?
Nope.
Because the thing is, you don't want to create goals that are so pie in the sky that you're going to frustrate yourself if you don't achieve them. You want to set goals that are difficult to reach, but you want to be able to at least get close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that got me thinking about this week was I was actually, I was working on one of my goals, and I wanted to see, okay, so it's a revenue goal. So I wanted to say, okay, in order for me to achieve this level of revenue every month, what would I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
It got me thinking about the services that I provide, and then the other ways that we generate revenue through like affiliate links and Google ads and things like that. And how can I actually achieve that number? Because that's my goal is $10,000 a month outside of what we're already doing.
Yes.
So, because I want to do this full time. I want to do consulting and podcasting full time. And so my consulting business is growing quite a bit, and the affiliate side is growing, but hitting that $10,000 a month figure, I'm sitting there going, how on earth am I ever going to do this?
Well, I think that's a good thing, because there's a psychology behind it as well, too, where when you have a goal for yourself that, you want to go from 0 to 10,000 a month in a business, you don't know how you're making your revenue necessarily when you're first starting, if you're starting from 0. And so, it's one thing if you have an established business to say, I'm going to increase 10% or 20% or whatever your increase is, because you know what your baseline is. And then you can look to see what you need to have in place to be able to do that. But when you're trying to actually, especially when you're starting out, goal setting is exceptionally difficult. And one of the things people need to understand is when you're setting goals initially, you're going to be wrong a lot, and you're going to learn a lot about how to set goals.
Let's look at two different scenarios, because let's say that your goal is to generate $20,000 a month in income. Okay. So this is revenue. Now, if your hourly rate is $200 an hour, which is, a premium rate, you would have to do 100 hours per month. So you figure that's 25 hours a week. Okay. That's doable.
Yeah.
Okay. If your rate is $50 an hour, then you need to do 400 hours a month.
Which could be difficult for one person.
Which is 100 hours a week.
Yes.
So that's why I really want you to think about these things, because let's cut that in half and say your goal is $10,000 a month. So even at that $50 rate, you're still looking at 200 hours a month, right? Which is 50 hours a week of just billable time, right? So if you're doing consulting with clients, that's 50 hours a week of direct consulting. Plus, you've got to think about, how do I get more clients into the pipeline?
So that's going to be some additional hours probably during the week that you would have to do that you're not going to be able to bill for.
Right. So, the thing that I want you to consider is, what other kinds of products can you come up with? What other type of services can you come up with in order to be able to increase your hourly rate or serve more people at the same time? So this is when, if you're a service-based business, you should be looking at things like paid webinars, courses, publishing a book, something so that somebody can get a hold of your knowledge, right? Without you being there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Because especially depending on the industry you're in, you might have some cap on the hourly rate you can spend to people. You might be able to charge more if you're a lawyer or an accountant, unless let's say you're doing a maid service. But you also have to look at things too. If you want to grow, outside of other products I can do around it, maybe self-help, or maybe helping sell affiliate stuff to cleaning supplies might help bring in additional revenue. Maybe you have a staffing need where you're going to need to increase staffing to be able to help deliver the service. A lot of it depends on what your tolerance is and how you want to get to it.
Right. We're actually, if you are signed up for the newsletter, I'm actually going to send out a revenue projection worksheet.
Hey, I love worksheets.
I know. And it's an Excel worksheet that's broken out into product revenue, service revenue, and then other sources of income. So that way you can say, all right, what's my revenue goal? And then how can I achieve that revenue goal? If you sell a product, you might want to look at complementary products, either through like an Amazon affiliate or Barnes & Noble affiliate or another affiliate program. You might want to look at complementary services that you could sell in addition to your product to help raise up your revenue.
Yeah, especially, I mean, if you can create a relationship with other people who can help push business your way and you can help push business their way, and you're probably revenue sharing at some level with each other around that task.
Yep. So if you're not signed up for the newsletter, if you sign up for it after listening to this episode, we will send you this out in the welcome letter. And if you're already on the mailing list, it'll go out automatically in your email. So look for that. You know, even if you have goals, like I know you had a goal early in the year that you wanted to have like X number of Twitter followers by the end of the year. And
that goal changed.
It did.
Yeah, because, and a lot of it was from looking at marketing people, you know, it's like, one, I could have easily hit that goal. You might be sitting there going, wow, how could you easily hit a goal? Well, shoot, I could pay people to give me Twitter followers and I could get that number without a lot of effort. But several of the people I follow, Tim Grahl, Michael Hyatt, all of them keep talking about you need engagement in those followers for any of it to be useful. So I could have 10 million followers I paid for and get 0 sales, 0 clicks. Maybe I'm paying for retweets too, but I'm not getting much real traction with it. It creates this false sense of authority, but it doesn't get me to the goal of interacting with the community I'm trying to, which is really the more important thing. And so for me, the number of followers has become a lot less important for all my social media because I think it'll grow over time. And I'd rather it be a holistic growth where I'm actually in contact with my avatar.
And I think that's one thing that you actually do really well on your Twitter account is that you get a lot of engagement and you interact with people and you have a lot of people sharing your stuff. And I think it's better to have a couple hundred people that are super active than to have thousands that don't do anything.
Just completely ignore everything that comes out after the initial time they look at you and add you as a follower.
You know, like we said last week, you know, if you come up with a goal like that, you know, I want to have, you know, X number of email subscribers, or I want to have X number of Twitter followers, or, you know, I want to have 2,000 likes on my page. What is that going to do for you?
And is maybe that your end game?
Right. And maybe that should be your goal, that thing it's going to do for you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're talking about Twitter followers and you say, okay, well, the Twitter followers are going to get people on my email list, and, you know, the email list is going to get people to listen to my podcast. Okay, well, maybe you should focus on, you know, the listeners of the podcast and then say, okay, well, what if 1,000 people listen to each episode of my podcast? What does that do for me?
Exactly.
Right. And keep thinking until you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is the last thing.
And I think that's super important too, because when you start thinking about getting the followers, you start forgetting about your avatar. For my other podcast about fantasy world building, if I had focused on LinkedIn, you know, I might have been able to get X number of LinkedIn connections or whatever it's called in LinkedIn. None of them care about my podcast because it's not relevant to them. And some of them, you might get some people who also like fantasy, but in general, that's not where my audience is. So who cares how many LinkedIn connections I get for that show?
No, that's very true. You know, that's why I think a lot of times social media goals or email list goals, you know, should not be a top priority. It's the goal above that. What it's going to, what will that do for you?
Because I think there are two areas where people make mistakes in goal setting. And the first one we touched on at the beginning, which is we set our goals way too high. I want $1 billion by the end of this year. Okay, good luck, Jeff. And then
that book is going to sell a lot of copies.
It's going to be a lot of book sales. And then the second one is I make them too small because I want to hit my goals. And goals need to make you uncomfortable. That's the reason why, especially at work, you don't want to do them, because I don't know necessarily when I get my new goal at work how I'm going to reach it. But I need to. But when I have a goal that is attainable, that's fair, I can then start looking at the bits and pieces of it to actually come up with a plan to implement and get to the goal.
Exactly. Yes. That's why I you know, especially in business, I'm a really huge fan of revenue goals, because at the end of the day, if you are trying to replace your income or replace your spouse's income so that you can bring them home as well, you need to achieve a certain amount of revenue. a lot of the time, we come up with these other goals about growing social media and growing email lists and, having X number of people attend a webinar. But really, at the end of the day, it's revenue.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things you have to determine. One, is this a hobby or is this a full-fledged business? And if it's a hobby business that you want to do on the side and that's all you want it to be, getting podcast listeners or getting blog followers are where your goal should be. But ultimately, if you want it to be a business, if you want it to take over the other aspects of your work life, then ultimately, if there's no revenue, good luck doing that.
Exactly. If you want to stay in business, you have to generate revenue. And even if you start your business by saying, okay, well, I want to be able to travel more or I want to have more free time, then you're still talking about a revenue goal because you've got to generate X amount of revenue in the 20 hours a week you want to work in order to take the rest of the week off.
Or maybe even a more frightening number to look at, maybe it's the profit number that's important. Because ultimately that's, I need $10,000 in profit for that big vacation annually for me and my family. So to do that, I'm going to need this much revenue. I'm going to need to control my costs as well so I can take that much revenue home to go to, let's say, Naples. Get food.
Oh, God, I want to go back to Naples. I miss Naples.
Or Florence. Or the Italian show we were watching on PBS earlier probably is consuming my mind right now.
I want you to go back this week and I want you to look at your goals, especially if you created goals last week after listening to episode 7. And I want you to think about, is this the highest level goal I can achieve? Is this goal just to get me to achieve another goal, right? And start scaling up.
Yeah.
And then I also want you to think about what it would take for you to achieve those goals, especially the revenue goals. And look for the worksheet in your email.
And the good thing is too, I think the more experience you have, the easier it becomes, because if you know that it takes typically 5 phone calls with clients to bring in a new client, to be able to get that kind of revenue, how many people do I need to get in front of me now? And so maybe your focus early is to build up your sales funnel so you have, clients coming in so you can get enough phone calls in with them to build up enough clients to get to your revenue goal.
Right. So, say you have a $20,000 revenue goal. Each client is $1,000 in revenue. So that's 20 people. If you need to contact 10 people to close a sale, then you're talking about 200 people a month you've got to contact in order to hit that goal.
And I'm a big fan, like my wife, of revenue, especially in small business. Growing revenue is easier than if you're a large business. But the thing is, if you hit your revenue goals earlier, take the large business approach of sitting back and looking at all of your expenses at that point and going, what can I tap down some of my expenses? Are there ways I can do that, maintain my business, and increase my ultimate profit?
Right. And I guess the one caution that I would give you, and this is something I had a lot of trouble with when I first started my business, make sure that the revenue opportunities that present themselves are within the scope of your ideal business. Make sure that you are accepting, that you're accepting clients and you're accepting customers because they fit within the vision of your business. In the past couple weeks, I've turned down 10 new clients because they didn't fit. I'm trying to transition out of tax preparation and into consulting. And so I had 10 clients approach me in the last couple weeks and say, hey, I want you to do my taxes. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to do that anymore. Well, and it took a lot because when I'm looking at my revenue goals and I'm like, well, that would really help me hit my revenue goal. But that's not where I want to go with my business.
I think that's a super fair point too, because a lot of times when people want to work at home, there's at least a portion of them that hate their day job, or they really don't want to work their day job anymore. And then what happens is, because they have so many skills wrapped around that, it's easy to slide into that on the small business side. But then you go from having a boss pushing you to get the work you hate done to yourself trying to push yourself to get the work done that you hate. And you don't want to end up in that circumstance, or you might fail a few years down the road just burning out.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happens to me every tax season as I go, I can't believe I still did all this work. Next year, I'm not going to do this. And then all year long, I'll accept new clients and I'll accept new clients. And then I get to tax season and I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. So this year I'm really being proactive.
Well, and one of the things I like too is like you're working with your existing clients to get them, your existing tax clients, to get them into a place where they don't need you for that kind of work anymore. And because you have done consulting work the entire time you've had a small business, but that's been mainly outside of tax season. But this year you've done a lot of work saying, okay, let's get you into this payroll service, because if you get into this payroll service, it will help you. It'll help the business owner out. And then it'll also take away the need for you to do payroll taxes for them every quarter.
Right. Yep. So, I'm working to restructure my business, focus more on the areas that I want to work in that are interesting to me. Because I love working with small businesses to help them grow and succeed and get organized. And, having worked with small businesses for 14 years and small businesses of all kinds. I have a lot of experience with that. I love doing it. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, she was saying, she's like, you think outside the box. And I was like, what box? There is no box.
That's right.
Because that's kind of the mentality I have. I don't even want there to be a box in the room. That's how outside the box I am.
And that's kind of the way I like to brainstorm myself, is I don't like to focus on trying to figure out parameters to brainstorm in. It's like, I need to be in an environment where there's a willingness to listen to all the ideas that hit my head. And some of them are going to be absolutely silly and some are going to rock, but you can filter through the ideas once you have some.
Yeah.
Too often I think when people get into that frame of mind, they get stuck and go, oh, I don't want to sound stupid when I say this. But when you're in that phase of developing an idea, you don't want to hold yourself back.
And the best way to do that, sticky notes and a wall.
Yes.
Get a pen, some sticky notes, and a wall, and just whatever comes into mind, write each idea down on a sticky note and just chuck it on the wall.
And the reason why it's important is you can then take the sticky notes, you can organize them on the wall and reorganize, and ultimately go, these sticky notes are gone. These are important sticky notes. These are less important sticky notes.
Yeah, I love brainstorming that way.
Yeah.
It's great. So, yeah, if you ever have to brainstorm anything, pen, sticky notes, wall.
Better than a whiteboard any day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A whiteboard would be your next step.
Yes. But the thing with sticky notes is like, it's such a little piece of paper that you're like, all right, I'm just going to write down this little snippet of an idea and then put it up on the wall. And then with the whiteboard, I think what kind of happens is you get focused on what's already on the whiteboard and either trying to match what's up there or start thinking about, okay, should this actually be up there? And with the sticky notes, you just throw them up there.
Yeah. Because for me, I like whiteboards more for taking an idea I actually want to work on and formalize how I want to get to it, and less on coming up with the ideas.
Yep. Goals. Very important. Take a look at your goals. Are they realistic? How are you going to get there? That's what I want you to take a look at this week. Okay. This week's tip of the week is actually from Janine. Janine is a member of the Small Biz Life community, which if you haven't joined it yet, you need to join. It's a fun little place to be for small business owners. We talk about all sorts of stuff, all sorts of different issues that people are having. But Janine posted this morning a tip. She says, when you go to the store, or in Kristen's case, right? Because I love Peapod, so we don't spend a lot of time at the grocery store. Although this does apply because we look for sales. Even though you have your normal list, check the sales items, especially on things like meat, to see if there's anything you can use later. I also try to over-prepare for another meal later. So she talks about, she made a big batch of meatballs because Italian sausage was on sale. She marinates, she'll buy extra chicken and she'll freeze it with the marinade so that it's already ready to grill. And we do something like the similar. We'll make double batches of things. If you're making chili or soup or stew, make a big batch. We typically buy large packages of ground beef at Costco and we'll cook it all and we'll freeze it in small packages.
Or leave some for my lunches too, which is very helpful for me in the morning.
Yeah. And a lot of times we'll overcook just so that we have stuff for lunch the next day.
But if it's like a huge batch of chili, I can have lunches for the next week and another thing in the freezer of chili. So later on when I want chili, I can heat it up.
And you can never get enough chili.
No.
Yeah. It was funny because I was talking to somebody this week And she was really overwhelmed with the concept of going to school and working at the same time. And then how do you balance your family with that? And I think the thing that we need to remember as small business owners and is, trying to spend time with our families, dinner does not have to be, pot roast every night. It does not have to be a 3-hour tour every night. There are a lot of quick dinners that we make. We do, we'll do tacos. I make sloppy joes from scratch, which only take like 20 minutes, and they have lots of vegetables in them. Don't tell Jeffrey.
What?
I hide vegetables in the sloppy joes.
As long as I can't taste them.
Yep, that's fine. That's why I do it. We'll do, we do spaghetti really quick. I have a recipe for peanut chicken stir fry, which has lots of vegetables in it and takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes to make.
Yeah. And I remember too, especially when we both had really, really crazy schedules and
when
we were
like now.
Well, I mean, it's been worse in the past.
Yeah.
And especially like when we were both on boards and like were an elected official, and back then was our worst time. And sometimes we'd spend part of the day Saturday or Sunday, and you would just be chopping up onions and peppers and stuff like that to batch out for the different meals, so you don't have to cut them up at the time that you were making them during the week.
Right. I think a lot of it is planning, it's preparation, making extra meals, and giving yourself some grace. You don't have to have a roast. One of our favorite meals is grilled cheese and tomato soup. And it's so quick. And it's so, even if you make tomato soup from scratch with canned tomatoes, you can still get it done in less than 30 minutes.
And I just want to bring up one thing too. A lot of times I think for a lot of the women I've met, the problems, they always worry about their husbands. Their husbands being able to feed themselves when they're left alone.
Well, you know why we have this fear? Is because let me tell you a story. Wait, and then you can finish.
Well, no, let me finish,
okay,
and
all
then
right.
You might want to go into your story.
Okay.
So this is a concern that men just can't take care of themselves, and that we need dinner made for us. Like if the wife won't be home that night because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. My advice is it's a simple problem that you can prep for. Just buy lots of cans of peanuts.
How did I know that that's what you were going to say? No, we joke about this because when I went to take the CPA exam, I had that fear. Like, I'm leaving my husband alone for 3 days. And so I made lasagna and I cut it up into little containers. And I think I made like beef stew or something and did the same thing. I don't know. But there was stuff prepped in the fridge. And I was like, all you got to do is heat it up. It's good to go. Mm-hmm. So, I think it was like the first night that I was there, like I called you and I was like, so what'd you have for dinner? And he says, I had a bag of microwave popcorn and a quarter can of honey roasted peanuts. And I just went, oh my God, he can't even eat things up in the microwave. I'm never leaving again. And that's the fear that we have is like, if we leave our husband and our kids home alone, they're going to have Kit Kats for dinner. Mm-hmm. I think if, you talk to your spouse, you get them on board. I mean, it can be, dinner can be as easy as, you've got lunch meat or you've got hot dogs or hamburgers. Mm-hmm. There are celery sticks and carrot sticks that are already cut up in the fridge. Mm-hmm. And, maybe make some potato salad or something over the weekend or some macaroni salad.
Pickles.
Yeah, olives, pickles, cherry tomatoes.
Peanut M&Ms.
No, peanut M&Ms don't count as healthy food. Bad.
Vegetables like chicken?
We're not going into that today. Okay, so, it might take a little bit more prep on the weekends, and sometimes it doesn't. Like if you're, if I'm making shepherd's pie, I'll make 2 of them and I'll put 1 in the freezer. So sometimes it's not even any more work. If you're making mashed potatoes for shepherd's pie, you might as well make extra.
Just one learning lesson that we reached. You really need to use a permanent marker and mark it well when you've packaged it up and put it in the freezer, or else you're like, what's this? I don't know. And then it sits there forever. Yes.
You need to use it within a short period of time. But then, those sticky notes you use for brainstorming, you can put a sticky note on it and say, this is when I made it. This is how you cook it.
Just right in the back.
What if it's not in a bag? What if it's in like a
Put a bag
casserole
around it,
dish?
and then make it an edible material and just eat it when you're done.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk to the people at Lollyware. Oh, look, we went all full circle.
Excellent.
I love when that happens. This is Life with Jeffrey. This week's app of the week. I can't tell you how many books get recommended to me every week. And well, I would love to have more time to actually sit down and read a book. I just don't. There is no more time in the schedule. That's why I love Audible. Audible is an audio book subscription service. Audible is actually owned by Amazon. And what you do is you subscribe and you get one free audiobook every month with your subscription. And then you can buy more at a discount. So it's a really great service. You can listen to audiobooks in your car. You know, you can listen to them in the shower. You can listen to them at the gym. Yeah. It's a great way for you to consume more information while you're working on other things. I even like listening to audiobooks like if I'm cooking.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, we have a Bluetooth speaker, you know, put on the audiobook and you're consuming information.
And this is the way I like to use audiobooks. And I've used them historically. And the thing is, there's nothing like physically reading a paper book for retention purposes. But a lot of times there might be a tidbit here or there that you're going to get in each business book, or maybe it's just a piece of fiction that you're trying to consume for some entertainment. Audiobooks are great for that. And then if the book you're listening to is so awesome, I would suggest going out and buying a paper copy, because really reading through it, and, you know, especially if you're one of those people who likes to mark up books, do that because you'll retain the information better. But if it's one of those where you're getting this idea of something from a book, an audio format is a great way to do it because of the shower or the gym, or if you have a long commute, or if you travel a lot for clients, there's a lot of time that you can dual utilize.
Well, I find too, like, even if I read a paper book, I'll read it through the first time just to kind of, you know, get the general gist of the book. And then I'll go back, you know, and I'll re-skim the book and I'll highlight it and mark it up.
If it's a really good book.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same idea, except you're using the audio version to do your skim.
Yep, exactly. So check out Audible. There's actually a free trial in the show notes where you can try it for 30 days for free.
Now, is there a Prime benefit if you have an Audible subscription too, or no?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing, Amazon.
I'm really hoping that they do that at some point they fold part of it into Prime. But I mean, if you think about like what you're getting, you know,
you get a lot of stuff with Prime.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have Amazon Prime and you haven't checked out the new music service yet, it is awesome. I'm really impressed with the selection of music that's on there. You can actually download the music to your phone, so you're not using your wireless plan.
You get free ebooks as well from the Prime itself. Not even going to the Kindle Unlimited stuff. That's something slightly different.
Yeah, they've got they're actually like new releases that they'll email me about that you can pick one a month. You know, there's lots of great. You know, if you have a Kindle, there's the Kindle lending library, which you can actually borrow books from. I mean, just, you know, it's a great value. And if we're documentary people, so we watch so many documentaries on Prime. It's crazy. So, you know, plus the 2-day free shipping, which is pretty awesome. You know, so check out Audible. And if you're not a Prime member, especially with the holidays coming up, you know, check out the website. We'll put in a link for a 30-day free trial to Prime.
And I think there's an advantage to Prime too with the shipping. You never try and pad your order to get the shipping for free.
Right.
So if you need one thing and it's cheap on Amazon, you can go order it. It'll ship right to your house in the 2-day, or you can select to downgrade the shipping. I don't know if they just do that during holidays, or is that permanent?
No, that's permanent. So one of the cool things, we're actually, if we use the Prime 2-day shipping, you know, we usually get it like the next day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 2 days, but if we do regular shipping, it's usually 2 to 3 days anyways. So Prime has this cool feature now that you can actually pick standard shipping and you'll get a $1 credit for downloadable content.
Yeah, which is awesome.
So I know like last Christmas, I was ordering stuff really early because I love the lightning deals.
And you would definitely order it one at a time because, they may think of this, this is great for this person. I'm only ordering that. I'm not worried about anything else right now. And then you downgrade the shipping and you get $1 back.
Yeah, it's like we got a bunch of free books last year.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're buying lightning deals, you're buying one thing at a time. That worked out really well for us. We got a whole bunch of free ebooks. So, especially with the holidays coming up, check out Amazon Prime, check out Audible. If you go to smallbizlife.com, there will be links for free trials for both of those. Woohoo in the show notes. So thank you so much for listening again this week. If you're a new listener, check out smallbizlife.com. There you can sign up for the newsletter to get the revenue projection worksheet that we were talking about earlier. You can check out the resource page. You can click on the Facebook link to join the Facebook community. You can follow us on Twitter. If you like this episode, you like the show, don't forget to take a couple minutes and rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Because we're still in the new and noteworthy portion of the show. And we're doing great. Like, I'm so excited. Like, you guys are like listening and you're reviewing and you guys are just awesome. Hitting that first page of new and noteworthy helps people find the show.
Yes.
And so, the more people that listen to the show, the closer we get to our revenue goals and the closer we get to me, developing even more content for you guys.
That's right.
So, I would love to take this show, to 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but in order to make that happen, we need more people listening to the show. So, a quick rate and review, it'll take you 2 minutes to do it and it'll help expand the audience. So thank you so much for listening again. We appreciate all your support. And if you ever want to reach out to us, Small Biz Life, you can hit the contact button. We are here to help you grow and thrive and succeed.
And eat more peanuts.
And microwave popcorn. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Life. If you enjoyed the show, please take a few minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please visit smallbizlife.com to view today's show notes, take this week's poll, join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, or submit a question for the mailbag. Support the show by checking the resources page or by going to smallbizlife.com/Amazon whenever you shop.
This was Small Biz Life. This was Small Biz Life.